April 12th meeting of the Walpole Conservation Commission. And the first hearing, Conservation Commission abbreviated notice of resource area delineation. In accordance with Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, Walpole Wetlands Protection Bylaw. Notice is hereby given the intent of Norfolk County Engineering Department to confirm wetland resource boundaries at Norfolk County Agricultural High School, 400 Main Street, map 13, lots 166, 167, 168, 169, and map 18, lots 1 and 2, in Walpole, Mass. Plans on file with the Conservation Commission Office. Public hearing in the above matter will be held in person February 22nd, 2023, beginning 7 p.m. All interested persons request to be present. Contact Conservation at 508-660-7253. Hearing's been opened and continued. We have a letter from
Patrick Higgins.
this is Patrick Higgins from the County of Norfolk Engineering Department. At this time, I respectfully submit a request for a continuance to the next Conservation Commission hearing on April 26, 2023, for the ANRAD application for 400 Main Street at Walpole, Mass., located at the northeast portion at the rear of the main campus for Norfolk County Agricultural High School. After reviewing the peer review report that we received on Tuesday of this week, prepared by Jonathan Nairo of Beta, we would like to revise the plans to address some issues discussed in the report. Mark Manganiello of LEC will be reaching out to Jonathan Nairo to discuss further the language of the ORAD. Plan to attend the hearing tonight to confirm the request for a continuance for the next hearing, April 26th. So, someone want, do we have anything on?
Yes, so our next available on the 26th would be 7:20.
7:20? Okay. Someone want to make a motion to continue the hearing until 7:20 on April 26th?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So, okay, this is for... $7:20, okay. What's up next? So, we don't have minutes right from the last meeting. So, anything you want to start with at this point till our next hearing? Next hearing is
The
7:15.
next hearing is 7:15, so we have 2 extensions you can work on, and I believe Clarkson Drive is here for an update. Is that what you guys are here for? For an update on the enforcement orders.
Do we want to hear Clarkson Drive?
To you guys.
Yeah. Why don't we do that? They're here.
You want to just come up and explain where you are with enforcement?
Let's get the wrong date.
Tuesday the 12th, on this revised plan.
Oh, I thought those were minutes.
Identify yourself for the record, please.
Yes, I'm Kimberly Salee,
And Bobby Salee.
Okay?
the homeowners of Clarkson, 33 Clarkson.
So where we left it last time was, John Gloucester had presented a plan of restoration for the areas that, and, the commission indicated that they wanted some trees also planted, and not just shrubs. So there's a revised plan with that on it, that Stephanie just passed out some copies. In addition to, the commission was concerned that some of the cutting had occurred on another property owners, the Zanzis. So I did send out a letter informing them of the enforcement and what had occurred. They didn't contact me yet, so I'm not sure where they stand on that. But obviously, the commission needs, and you need to have permission from another property owner
Right.
in order to do anything on their property.
We sent them out a letter as
You
well.
did as well,
Yes.
good. Thank you very much for doing
And
that.
that is revised as well, the plan from John, with the adding the trees and whatnot.
I think he added about 12 trees or so. It was just only bushes.
Okay. Dean, any comments? Bailey?
No comment?
Doug?
No comment.
That's okay,
Emilio?
yeah. That's a good thing. yeah.
That's
Oh,
it.
yes, sorry, yes, fine.
Al?
Yeah. I have no problem.
Okay. Anyone in the audience? Comments? Please identify yourself for the record. Okay.
So what's the timetable for this planting, though? Because once spring is gone, it's gonna be hard.
Just really quick, I did ask my landscaper and several landscapers, and they all had said that they don't recommend springtime. They recommend fall because of summer, and most likely they would die in the spring, in the summer. That's what they had recommended to me, fall. So if that's,
All the plantings because of the watering.
exactly, so if that's okay,
What do you think, Al?
Is that all right with you?
With this climate change and the droughts we've been having in the summer, I think they're right.
I agree. The only thing you'll have to watch for is the encroachment of the invasives, like the bamboo that's already, Japanese knotweed that's already at the end of the
Right,
cul-de-sac.
right.
You don't want that to migrate. So
Exactly.
if it starts to, you might have to do something so it doesn't.
so it
get any
doesn't spread,
further.
exactly.
Right, other than that,
Well, okay, should we put into some sort of an order that they do have to monitor for that? I mean, because it is pretty serious. Once Japanese knotweed gets in there, it's not coming out. And that's just perfect for a Japanese knotweed.
so you know, the commission, if the commission agrees to wait for the fall, then what I would do is draft a letter with requirements for them to be planted by end of October or whatever is
Okay.
best, and include in that letter that the invasive species like Japanese knotweed should be monitored throughout, between now and the fall, and taken care of if it moves in.
Monitored by a landscape person?
Monitored by a person knowledgeable of removing.
Right, because I know I, as a homeowner, have a battle with knotweed.
Yep.
And it's not a
However you
trivial.
would like to include that. My recommendation would be that if the commission agrees to the fall, that we write a letter and tell, with specific requirements to wait to the fall.
That's fine by me.
And when do you want to start with the fall? I would think you'd
Yeah.
want stuff in before the end of October. I would think when have them come back to you in August and see what it looks like as far as when would be,
They
Good
recommend
time to start doing-
specifically when planting, other than just fall,
They just
September.
say, that's what they recommended, fall. They didn't give me a specific month.
Okay.
We could say middle of September
yeah, that's what I'm
to
thinking. Get it
the
done in
end of
September.
October.
Okay, and if knotweed and the others have bittersweet and all that have taken hold, then in the fall, those have got to get removed.
Okay.
Right. To
So you-
monitor any invasive species, and
Okay.
if they encroach, then you gotta handle that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you'll include that in your letter? Okay.
That's good.
Okay. Anybody else have anything else?
So by mid-September, so give them mid-September
Plantings.
to mid-October.
I would think the planning should begin and
Already started spreading.
gets established to try to get them in by the end of September.
Okay, yeah, so I think maybe giving them a window, because sometimes, you know, you call a landscaper and you say, well, we have to get them in by September 15th, and they're like, well, we can't get there until X, so I would give them a month. So if you give them
Starting
September
September.
1st to the end of
Yeah.
September,
Yeah, I would rather
then
see
why don't
it.
we do that?
Give it time to establish.
Okay.
I'll move that.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
If you have any issues as season comes along, just get in touch with the office.
before,
Okay, before.
Yeah.
early as possible.
Early as possible, yes.
Thank you.
Because the ground behind the fence is all like sand and rock, so I have to clean that up and put loam and, so the plants and the trees would survive, you know what I mean? So it's a lot more to it than what we think, you know what I mean? So I already spreaded some loam already, behind the
So
fences.
the areas that are wetlands in
We're not touching that.
25 foot from the wetlands?
Correct.
The areas that you cut, you shouldn't do anything?
No,
Right,
nothing down
exactly,
there.
yeah.
Okay.
I'm talking right above it, right,
In the area that's already
Exactly,
established as
yep,
grass?
Exactly, yep.
Right, I don't think, the commission
They should be,
doesn't-
you should be planting grass, you're gonna plant grass, right?
Well, I haven't seen the plan yet, but
Well, if you spread loam, you're gonna plant grass?
Not
no,
in
I'm not
the,
planting grass, I'm just planting bushes and trees.
All right, we just wanna make sure we're not
No,
No,
washed into a wetland or anything.
No, 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 no.
Kind of
No.
wetlands. Landis, what is the procedure then for replanting in the wetlands? Because most of these trees are in the wetlands. And I don't mean the 25-foot buffer.
But the trees came from the wetlands.
They came from the wetland, but
what is the procedures for planting in the wetlands?
yeah, because we don't usually have people cutting this many trees in the wetlands. It's usually the 25-foot buffer.
So the landscaper will have to find appropriate places where they can dig holes and plant.
I think you'd need machines, and I don't think you want that in the wetland. I mean, I already put in about 60 yards of loam, and I'm gonna be putting another 50. I'm just gonna try to make it as
Where are you
nice.
putting the
Where are you
loom?
putting them on?
Where?
Where?
Right around the fence, right where I need to plant. I have a video I can show you if you want.
Okay, so most of the cutting occurred on the other side of the fence. So
Correct.
it's not on the other side of
No,
the fence,
no,
it's
no.
on the inside of the fence.
Exactly.
Right, so there are machines that could go into this area and dig holes and plant a tree. It's already cut.
I thought he was putting loam in there. I thought he was
No,
putting
no,
loam
no,
in
no,
there.
no, no, not there.
5-foot.
Okay.
I'm not supposed to, I guess.
So the trees that we'll be planting, they're small ones, so
Yeah.
they're like 2.5 to 3,
Right,
so
so you
most
could
of
have
them.
a small excavator if you need
Yes.
to, that would go in there, or you have someone with a shovel that has to dig a hole.
Exactly. So the landscaper said that they should be able to do them by hand,
Some of the
because they're small enough, and the birch ones, I think, one or two are great for the wetlands, right in the water, so.
Have you seen this?
So I don't think they're gonna do any more damage than's already damaged, because everything's pretty much.
If anything, we're gonna make it better,
I just
nicer.
wanted to make sure it wasn't putting loam down.
Right, I agree, so that's why I was clarifying. So the plan, the cutting all occurred on the outside of the
Yes.
fence, so that should just be left until you
Yes.
plant. And if you're putting in loam on the inside of the fence, just make sure it's not gonna wash out.
Oh, no, no,
Down,
no, no.
nothing, yes.
No.
If it's loam, it's not gonna do
No.
a problem, but we don't want a lawn established in the.
No, 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 no.
Okay,
Okay?
you all good?
Everybody all right? Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have, we have a minute according to Interval, and we have, let me start that, but, 300 Stone Street, DP 315-1218 is the lot next to the cutting machine across from Clark's Pond. They got an order from the Conservation Commission a while ago to put in a lot. Then they went to the zoning board, and it got appealed through the zoning board, but it was issued during COVID, so they get a tolling period through COVID. So they're requesting an 18-month extension, and it should be, you should give that to them, because they needed extra time because of the stay during COVID.
Okay, so we make that a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same. Need to sign something?
Yep, and the same thing with 100 Rustic Road, 315-1220. Again, their order of conditions was issued during COVID, and it was set to expire soon, but because of COVID during that time, it was tolled. So I'm requesting an extension to June 15th, 2024, which is also about 18 months.
Okay, someone want to make that a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Those two extensions.
We have no DEP number on that.
Oh, no, there is no DEP. Yeah,
I know, I already.
Town of Walpole Conservation Commission notice of intent in accordance with Walpole Wetlands Protection Bylaw. Notice hereby given the intent of Andrew Adams / Legacy Engineering to construct a single-family dwelling at 9 Litchfields Way, Lot 4, portion of map, Lot 26-158, 34-121, 122, and 123 in Walpole, Mass. Notice of intent, application, and plans are on file at the Conservation Commission office. Public hearing in the above matter will be held in person April 12th, 2023, beginning 7:15 PM. All interested persons are requested to be present. Okay, do we have anything to read in?
No, we didn't get any comments back.
No comments, okay. Representing the applicant,
Dan Merrickin with Legacy Engineering. All set? All right. So this is 4 Litchfields Way. This is the new road off of Peach Street. I think you may recall this was the area off-site was the subject of an enforcement order. There was some clearing done. Lot 4 was part of that. Part of that enforcement order was that the applicant file a notice of intent under Walpole's bylaw only. The resource area in question is off-site. It's an isolated vegetated wetland. So all of the stuff in the closest proximity to that has already been kind of established and settled by the commission through their enforcement order. So what this is this is the lot development. So this is the 25-foot buffer. It's off-site. This is the restoration work that will be done. It's off-site. This is the 100-foot buffer, so the applicant is proposing to construct a single-family dwelling with a yard area around the dwelling, and that falls within the outside portion of the buffer zone. This drainage outfall was previously approved by the commission as part of the subdivision. It's installed, so it's basically talking about this work in here. We have erosion controls proposed, and it's pretty straightforward. I know normally we do roof recharge, but all of the subdivisions, all of the houses in this subdivision, their roof runoffs getting piped into one of the stormwater infiltration basins. So the plans show that the roof runoff is piped into this stormwater infiltration basin, which is already installed.
okay. Landis?
How close is the corner of the garage to the outflow structure?
Oh, that's about 15 feet or so.
That's gonna be grass. There's enough.
Yeah, it's gonna be grass.
If there's a little wall.
There's we have a wall here, basically around the back of the yard. So the drainage outfall, the pipe itself is under a grassed area, and then on the back side of the pipe is a riprap channel that leads to a riprap outfall. And there's a drainage easement line here, which goes here. So basically to build a fairly level backyard area, we just have a short wall that comes along the back of the lot. So the drainage outfall would be at the base of that wall.
Okay, and you have a modular concrete block units that are
Correct.
on your details, so that's what's gonna be built. Yeah, so what's on the plan is what we expect unless you come back.
Unless we come back and ask. Yep.
So I just wanted to make sure there's enough room around the garage to get
Yeah, I think so.
around them.
Yeah. And we may be back for a modification. This house is kind of a placeholder footprint. You know, I expect that that's not the house he's gonna build, so I expect we'll be back here for a modification anyways, just when we have a real footprint to show you, and that'll change some of that.
It looks like a big garage. Is that like 3 bays or?
It's a 3-car garage, yes.
It's a dream come true.
I need a 3-car garage. Place for the Mustang. Well, I need a place for the Mustang.
And just the only comment I have in my report, which I also forwarded to you earlier today, is in regards to the enforcement and the restoration, that I know you referenced the plan with the planting information on this plan, but I'd like to see it actually on this plan.
That's fine.
And I think that just the way it happens, that it's connected, the restoration area and this lot.
That's fine.
So, and it wouldn't hurt to have the plantings under an order of conditions, because they need to be done. So, in addition to that, I would like to see, recommending to the commission that the plantings be done before the foundation is poured. You know, with plantings, you know, we just spoke about wanting to plant in the fall rather than the spring.
This lot's not gonna be developed in the near future, so it may not be until the fall before the
So
lot
planting in
is
the
developed.
fall with, you know, would probably be, I think would be acceptable to me. I think it's best to plant before developing the lot. I understand you have to get permission from the property owners as well.
Right.
With doing additional plantings on their property.
Right.
So I don't know if anyone's here tonight, but maybe after this part, you know, we'll see if there's anyone else in the audience that could address these private property owners. Other than that, I don't really have any other questions. This lot would be managing the infiltration basin as well.
Yes,
It's on their lot.
correct. This, the infiltration basin is on this lot, so they're responsible to maintain it.
Okay. Dean?
The filtration basin, that, the maintenance of that, can we tie that into any, no, probably can't, huh? The maintenance of the infiltration basement for this property owner?
You can make that a
Into what?
continuing condition.
Yeah.
It's already established. There's an O&M plan that's on record. It's recorded. You could make it a continuing condition that the
We
property
usually-
owner.
We will often reference the order of conditions that's associated with the road construction and the basin.
So here we had a negative determination for the subdivision, so we didn't have an order.
We would include the O and M in that order, yeah, I think that's.
Great,
appropriate.
that's my only question, thank you.
No comments?
I'm not a draftsman, but the 100-foot wetland buffer doesn't look proportional to the 25-foot buffer. You know,
Okay.
when I just kind of mark it off with my finger, it seems like the 100-foot buffer should extend further out than it's shown.
I will have to check that. I didn't bring a scale with me. It's all done by the computer, so I could double check it. So I have to submit a revised plan anyways for adding all the restoration area notes, so I'll check that.
Just looks like an arc that,
Yeah.
it looks a little bit too uniform.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Anything else?
It's short.
Okay.
Dan, I don't know if I heard correctly.
Keen observation.
Sorry. Oh, yeah. Did you get permission, or are you waiting for permission from the landowner?
We have permission from
You-
one of them, the Wohlers.
Okay.
The applicant is still working with the Daltons to
Okay.
secure permission for
So it's con-
for their work on their piece.
Contingent on getting that.
That's correct.
Yeah. Betsy?
No comment.
Al?
No comment.
Should we have some plaques on, those plaques, that would be on the abutters property.
Not on their property, yeah.
We can put plaques on our property line.
Yeah, do you want to include, stay off the neighbor's property, or?
Do not trespass on your neighbor's land.
Cut down the trees.
Yeah, we could put, what, you want to put, say, two or three plaques along the property line?
Yeah, because you got, the 25-foot buffer is on this
It's
property,
off-site.
lot 4.
Yeah, it's
property.
off-site.
So, yeah, I think 2 would be appropriate.
Okay.
So on, where are you gonna put them? On the,
Well, I would put one here, and then probably right here, right, like those two. That's
okay,
the line.
so that, you're gonna put them on the limit of work
I'm gonna put it
line.
on our property line, which is the limit of work for this lot.
So where, just point, like, up at the points of the
Oh, I
abutting
see.
lot? and-
Just after the drainage outfall, and then
Okay,
probably 75 feet to the right of it or so.
do you have a question?
I just wanted to see the plan, sir. I'm one of the butters.
Okay. You understand, you have any questions?
Not at the moment.
Okay. Anyone else in the audience, any questions or comments, please identify yourself for the record. Yes. Up to the microphone, please.
My name is Jeffrey Hill. I'm at 45 High Plain Street, which is next to 14 Peach Street. I'd like to see the plan and have Dan point out where the basin is.
The stormwater
Yeah,
basin?
you guys, you have to talk into the microphone, otherwise at home it's,
I can't hear you. So,
thank
the
you.
stormwater basin is here, so you're up here?
Yeah, I'm here. This is my lot right there.
Okay, so that's the stormwater basin. It's already
It's
installed.
already been dug, yeah.
Yeah, it's installed. So that's, I don't know, 300 feet away from your property, 250 at least.
But this is your 25-foot?
The purple line is the 25 here.
What were the plaques supposed to signify? The property line or the,
It's just it's an indication to the future property owners that they're not supposed to do any work beyond the plaques. The plaques say, no work beyond this marker.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay.
Actually,
Oh, identify yourself for the record, please.
Sure, Stacy Jones, 67 High Plain Street, so this is our property here. Yes. I was just concerned, and reason for my attendance was just understanding the I guess, what are you calling when you're gonna replant? And what the restoration and what the plan was for that.
So this shows what the work within the Conservation Commission's jurisdiction. The applicant is still working with the Daltons to get their permission to do that, and then there may be other plantings out here. That's something that they're working with the Daltons on.
So in looking at the property line and where those trees that were cut down that shouldn't have been, some of it's in conservation land and some of it isn't? Is that what you're saying? So part of it's,
Some of it's within the commission's jurisdiction, which is everything within 100 feet of a wetland, and some of it is outside of the jurisdiction of the
okay, so
commission.
I guess I'm most concerned with what's outside of the jurisdiction, and I will partner with the Daltons.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Someone make a motion to close the hearing? So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained? Okay. So the standard order with this plus the coordination for the plantings at the proper time of the year to be the owner of the property to coordinate with the conservation office. Anything else you want to add for that?
Well, we'll include the requirement to maintain the basin, and the O and M plan in the order, reference the O and M in the order. And I recommend that the plantings should be done prior to the foundation.
Yep.
Okay. Anybody have anything else? Okay, someone want to make that a motion? Someone,
Second.
all in favor? Anything else? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Okay.
I would just say that if the other property owners are not satisfied with the restoration plan that was approved by the commission, then for the jurisdiction of the Conservation Commission, that they should let us know. Dan? Then they should let us know
Yep,
what they feel should be in addition.
understood.
I understand there's also the question of the area outside the
Right.
buffer zone, so it's probably a lot to
Yep,
do with that.
when we
as
get
well.
some clarity on that, if something needs to be changed, we'll come back and see you.
Thank you. Washington Street.
Isn't it?
Washington Street.
Oh.
Clock Tower. Did you hear it ringing?
Just how convenient. Don't set this up like this.
Notice of intent, public hearing notice in accordance with Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, Walpole Wetlands Protection Bylaw. Notice hereby given intent of Thomas Powers to perform work associated with redevelopment of the site for proposed mixed-use building and appurtenances, 132-136-140 Washington Street, 20 Lot 32 in Walpole, Mass. Notice of the intent of application and plans are filed at the Conservation Commission office. Public hearing in the above matter will be held in person December 14, 2022, beginning at 8 p.m. All interested persons requested to be present. Hearing's been opened and continued. I don't think we have anything new from anybody else. So representing the applicant,
Well, there were new documents that were submitted by the applicant.
okay.
So they submitted a riverfront area analysis, revised plan, and there's letters. So that's the,
Okay, please find and close 4 copies of the revised invasive species management plan for the Commission's property along Bird Pond, noted on the Ponset River Watershed Association, letter dated March 22, 2023, and the treatment plan has been revised to include the entirety of that parcel of land. Other changes include specifying that the applicator be properly licensed, additional specificity regarding management techniques for Japanese knotweed, additional documentation regarding the work in the 4th year. Applicant will undertake the specified work for a 4-year period. Should additional treatment be needed, the applicant's invasive species consultant may be able to provide training to town staff to ensure the continued maintenance of the area. So that's a letter from Dan American dated April 6th. And there's a invasive species management plan included with that. And then there's riverfront analysis. This is also dated March 15th, revised April 12th. Because
I can summarize that for you if you want.
necessary to read this one.
Let's hear it.
You don't want to read it all.
No.
Yeah, you don't have to read all that. Then this just kind of gives a summary of the revised plans.
This is the
No.
same thing as this.
Oh, it is. You sent in a letter, well, you can explain it.
I'll explain it.
You want to review this riverfront area analysis for us?
So the riverfront area analysis is the same that we talked about last time. I know, Mr. Chairman, you weren't here, but we went through a whole point-by-point analysis under the redevelopment provisions of the Wetlands Protection Act, and the conclusion was that there was 6,863 square feet of proposed work on the site to redevelop the property that fell outside the scope of the redevelopment provisions, and that off-site mitigation, on-site or off-site mitigation was needed to allow that. And what we have proposed is the removal of invasive species on about 3/4 of an acre of land, so more than 5 times the area that we're talking about on town-owned land on the other side of Bird Pond. So, coming out of the last meeting, we had comments from the Watershed Association. They wanted the area to be increased from 25,000 to the whole piece, which is about 36,000. So the plan has been revised to reflect that. And then the notations about application by a properly licensed person and some of the more nitty-gritty things that they mentioned have been incorporated into the revised invasive species plan. I did submit an updated riverfront analysis today. The only change is to reflect the larger off-site mitigation area, just so that the record has a single document that has the riverfront analysis with the invasive species plan as part of that document, so that if you're inclined to approve, you can reference that one specific document. The plans, we just added, part of what we discussed was on the high side of the old tunnel, right next to Hollingsworth and Rose, there would be a restoration area here. So I had provided you a detail of that. It's part of that analysis, but I wanted to put that on the site plan. So that was added to the site plan. And we added a few other notes that the town engineer and the fire department requested, but otherwise the plan is not different than what you have seen previously. So I think what we have here is a final product, unless the commission has any other questions for me.
So in your packet, it's in the packet. So the area of the mitigation area is the same as
Is it in the folder?
last time.
Is it in here?
So over by Mansion Drive.
So this, right, Brandon? Riverfront area analysis?
Save trees.
Right, you don't have the newest version, the April 12th version, because that just came in, but including in the version that you have, should have show where the mitigation is occurring, just so you know.
Steph, if you want to flip down to the last few pages of that, I can show them where it is. If you want to flip down to, I think, the last page of that document, and the second to last page of that document.
Yeah.
And it includes this little triangle
Oh,
area.
there it is.
Yes.
There it is, right there. Go up one,
Okay.
a little bit more.
It just adds the little.
That's the area that we're talking about.
Wow.
Zoomed in.
There you go.
That's just behind the dam. It's the town-owned piece of land.
It's pretty.
Conservation,
Is it gonna be that color?
okay. Anything else, Landis, in this?
No, so I think Dan has done everything that was recommended. We wanted a little more information on a professional invasive species removal professional, and he went out and got that, and that's what the report from
Ruby Environmental.
Ruby Environmental. So originally, we had 2 reports, and then today, he just put the 2 reports together and made sure all the numbers were correct as far as degraded riverfront area, non-degraded riverfront area, redevelopment So, because there's a lot of different categories according to the regulations, so that's all spelled out in the report. I think that it's a 4-year plan for the
Four-year
invasive
plan,
species.
yep.
So I think that's great. Maybe it'll trigger on additional invasive removal in that area. The only thing I was, when I was reading your report, that I was, just wanted to add, and we can condition, is just to get biannual reports to the commission. So it seemed like it was broken up to spring and fall, so spring would be kind of putting together a plan of what needs to be attacked, and then fall would be analysis of
Yeah.
what's been done.
A
So
summary of the status.
right, yeah, so one in the spring and one in the fall, so we can understand what's going on
Yeah.
and how the progress is occurring.
And then also a continuing condition that the property in question be maintained free of invasive species in perpetuity,
The clock tower.
the clock
site.
tower site.
Right, there would be a condition, be maintained free of invasives, as well as no further riverfront area development.
One-way street now, the street there runs,
Anything else?
And as far as, I think the stormwater was pretty much vetted by the town engineer, so that's.
Town engineer satisfied with the drainage.
We didn't get an updated letter, but Carl was happy with that. And, I know the commission had talked earlier about possibilities of using that underground tunnel to access the paths on the other side. So that would still be open.
Right in
Yeah,
front where
that's
the-
fine.
was that, this bank is right there.
That's officially fine?
It's officially fine.
That in writing?
You could put a condition in that the applicant grant an easement to the town.
Whoa.
I mean, the town already has a sewer easement there, so it's kind
Right,
of,
but we need a trail easement.
One for trail.
yeah,
easement.
so we could take that same area and grant a trail easement to the town. That's fine.
And then we just have to, there may be a little section between that and the Riverwalk property that we have.
I thought we had connected to that, but maybe not.
There is a path, but there's a path that then kind of ends
Yeah,
on the
Yeah.
Hoagie, is it still Hoagie Vera property? And then it's kind of dirt and rough, and then it's the,
yeah. Okay, so 2 questions. When does this invasive species project begin?
Well, we have to get clear of the other 2 boards first, so we may not see our permits finalized with the other 2 boards until June sometime. So, it should start this summer.
Okay, and the second question is, just in case Gary Riggett's not watching, can we let him know? I mean, because there's 2 things of great interest to the Trails
I
Committee.
sent an email quite a while ago addressing both this project and the North Street project and got no response, so we will send it out
Okay,
again.
but the fact that we could have a trail easement through the tunnel is of great interest.
Absolutely.
And the fact that this area is gonna have its invasives cleared out, because Gary's worked on that, and,
I will do it again.
Okay.
You brought that up, I think, one of the first
Yeah.
public hearings, and I did send an email, so I will send it again, but if you
Right.
see him,
yeah,
you can let him know. And as
Okay.
far as invasive species, yeah, I would recommend, if you have an application to approve this, that the invasive species plan starts the same season that the project starts, or the
Yeah.
following season at least?
Well, I mean, the initial phase of assessment and
Assessment.
determining what's there, and then the initial removal should start at the same time as construction.
Yeah, I would say that the assessment should start at the same time the project starts.
Right. Yep.
And then it should also continue, so it's not like 1 year now and 3 years down the road.
No, right.
It's a continuous 4 years.
Yep. Right.
Okay. Dean?
No questions.
Haley?
No questions?
Doug?
No questions?
Anything else, Betsy?
no,
Al?
Only comment I will make is that this section on the map shows blank, and that was Anna Bird's house. And that property has a trail through it that was covered under the tripartite agreement to maintain that trail through that next to the river. So I don't know what happened when she sold it.
The easement went with that property. There is, either through the tripartite or separately, that Anna Bird had an easement across her property.
I just don't want to see
I
this.
know that this came up with the new owner, wasn't happy about it, but it was investigated at that time. So I don't know if we have to do anything new again, but it was confirmed that that trail goes through the former Anna Bird property.
Yeah, okay. I don't want to see that lost, because we fought pretty hard to get that whole thing for years.
Anything else, Al?
No?
I have a question on this removing invasive species. I didn't see any reference to poison ivy. What's the
Poison
issue?
ivy is not an invasive species, as far as I know. It's
Yeah, but
annoying, but it's not invasive.
It's called a
Yeah.
nuisance species?
It's a
I
nuisance.
had that from last week.
Is there, I would assume there's poison ivy on this property?
Sure there is.
Do we want to include, or is that going to be up to us to get rid of it?
Touch it. Yeah.
The trail, actually, the trail is adjacent to the property, comes out on the road, I think, doesn't
Yeah, it
it?
does.
Yeah, that little small parking area that comes out onto the
But
road.
this property, we're clearing this for a purpose, so it can be used.
Right.
So I would think we'd do something, want to do something about, at least in part of the area.
I don't think we have a problem with that, so if you
Get
want to
rid of-
make that subject to the agent's discretion, that's fine.
I think we should include something on that we need to clear poison ivy in appropriate area on this parcel. Anybody in the audience have any questions or comments? Please identify yourself for the record. Okay. So we're ready to close this? Anything else, Landis, that we're waiting for?
I do not believe we are waiting for anything else.
Okay. Anyone want to make a motion to close the hearing?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I missed more than one hearing. I saw the last one, but I think there was one in between, so I will not vote on that. But anything else that we need to include that we haven't already discussed here? And once we have issued our notice, permit, could that start? So it's this year, it starts with the invasive species, with Ruby?
Assuming the rest of the permitting goes along, but we're back in front of the zoning board on May 15th, and then, I don't know, we have to appear before the planning board, because there's a last stop after that, and I don't know when that's gonna be at this point. It might be at the end of May, it might be in June sometime.
My question is, could Ruby start with their assessment on this, so we get started this year on between the assessment and an action taken?
We just have to have all of our permits in hand, right? Because if for whatever reason, one of the other permits doesn't issue, the project's not going forward. Right, so we just have to wait until once all of our permits are in hand and all the appeals periods have expired, then work could start.
Okay.
Yeah, I can see they don't want to spend money on something if they're not going to get their
Okay.
projects done, unless they want some volunteer work to the town.
Okay. Was there anything else we needed to?
I don't know, did you vote the conditions?
No, do we need to add anything else? It's not, okay, so move the order,
So moved.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
So you're
Abstain?
abstaining.
Thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you. I still signed here, right, for this, even though I abstained
Well,
from
you
the
don't
vote.
have to, because we have a quorum without your signature.
We don't need you.
We don't need you.
Bye.
You can leave now. You know.
We didn't have a quorum.
He's an engineer.
Just paying that one too.
If I was developing, I can't endorse anything.
So Chairman, we have, so it's 7:51.
Yep.
And we have Remnar, and then we have North Pull-Off, and then we have Hayden. And Stephanie was suggesting if you just want to bump up Hayden at this point, because it's very short, it's just approving the order conditions.
Okay,
So here's Remnar.
well, we'll do the other, you got the other one?
Yep.
Right there, chief?
Four. Is Renmar continued? So we can do this,
After we're done.
Okay.
we could do North Street and then come back to Renmar.
Yeah, either one. You
Well,
can
we
Hayden
got
and
people
Remnar
here.
and then
Fix
go
So
the
we
to-
got people here for North Street.
I know, but Remnar is just to continue.
Public hearing, Conservation Commission, notice of intent, according to Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, Walpole Wetlands Protection Bylaw. Notice hereby given the intent of Marilyn Ryan, trustee, to remove and replace existing deck, spa, patio, walkway, and fire pit within 100 feet of wetland resource area in Walpole, Mass. Plans are filed at the Conservation Commission office. Public hearing, the above matter will be held in person, March 22, 2023, beginning 7:45 PM. All interested persons are requested to be present. Hearing's been opened and continued. Board of Health, That's
That was
been
read in
read.
the last one. Yeah,
okay,
there's no
there's
new
nothing new.
comments. The only thing we were waiting for was the DEP number, 315128, which we did receive.
Which we got.
Yes, we did.
That was the only other issue,
Yep.
okay. Applicant has nothing more to present, take it? Okay. Dean,
No questions?
Bailey,
No questions?
Doug,
No questions.
Emilio, that's it?
No.
No. Okay, so we'll make a motion to close the hearing.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, so the order will be,
So I was just recommending the boilerplate conditions where we referenced the no alteration plaques. They were gonna add 2 new ones and the erosion control. And I didn't have any additional.
okay, so we want to make that a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained. Okay,
Thank you. I'm not Marilyn, I'm her husband, Ed.
I'm glad you clarified that. You want to make sure the TV people see this.
She's much better looking. It's Hayden, H-A-Y-D.
Hayden, right.
Oh,
We,
okay.
we thought so.
Yes,
Yeah,
that was
it's
my
it's Symphony
mistake.
Park, and he's
I
a
know.
well-composed.
I know, we were talking about that today.
As opposed to Choppin, which is next door to
Right.
Hayden.
I'd like to tell you how many delivery people keep looking for Hayden. Bye-bye. Have a good night. Thank you.
We got something to sign. But he didn't indicate why it was named Symphony Park. Because of its location. The abutter is the Norfolk Prison. Yeah, you look Symphony Park, it looks down, so that's why they picked Symphony Park and the names of the streets, according to the developer. I can read this in while we're waiting, right? We get a letter?
Which one are you moving on to?
This is Renmar. Public hearing, Conservation Commission, amended order of conditions, land disturbance permit, of course, Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, Walpole Wetlands Protection Bylaw, Walpole Stormwater and Erosion Control Bylaw, regulations, notice hereby give the intent of Bristol Brothers Development Corporation to amend the approved order of conditions, DEP 315-1173 at Renmar Ave and West Street. Map 32, parcels 85, 86, 94, 95, 96, map 40, parcel 6, map 39, parcels 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60, for the 100-unit AQV in Walpole, Mass. The amended order, conditions, land disturbance permit, and application and plans are filed with the Conservation Commission office. Public hearing in the above matter will be held in person February 22nd, 2023, beginning 7:15 p.m. All interested person requested to be present. Hearing's been open, continued. We have a letter from, this is dated April 11th, from, let's see, did we get an answer?
Maggie Laracy.
I'm looking for her answer. You asked if they're gonna be here.
On behalf
Oh,
of our
there it is.
client.
Okay, on behalf of our client, Bristol Brothers Development, we would like to request a continuance to the 5:10 meeting from the applicant. Someone want to make a motion? Do we have anything on at 5:10?
We have nothing scheduled.
So moved.
So make it at 7
Second,
on May 10th?
yeah.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, fine. Okay.
Thank you.
Well, it says May 3 here on the letter, it's May 10th is the, May 10th, okay. We have another hearing.
Yeah. Done, okay.
Town of Walpole Conservation Commission's notice of intent in accordance with Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, Walpole Wetlands Protection Bylaw. Knows hereby given the intent of the Town of Walpole to construct a pull-off on North Street to access conservation land, map 9, lot 18-1, within 100 feet of wetland resource area in Walpole, Mass. Plans are filed to Conservation Commission Office. Public hearing on the above matter will be held in person on March 22, 2023, beginning at 7:20 p.m. All interested persons request to be present. Hearing's been opened and continued. So we have two portions of this hearing. One is the permit, which is conservation issues. The other were other concerns that abutters and/or other interested persons would be able to present. So we'll continue with the permitting issue first. We don't have anything new to add from our end?
There was no additional, department information came in since the last meeting. There's a couple of issues that were brought up at the last hearing, to address. And then there was two abutter letters that were submitted.
want to summarize this. This would apply, particularly invasive species, could apply to the permit. That the DCR has a brochure that will be posted instructing boaters on how to check boats for invasive species. No motor boats are allowed on the pond, so that takes the motor boat.
Jack, is that about
issues
the-
out of the.
Jack, is that about the turnoff, though? I thought we were gonna first take the
Well,
turnoff
this
and
is
then take the
part of
concerns.
I'm just looking what might apply with the turnoff. There was also, and this again could apply to both, an email has been sent to the Fire and Police Department for comments, and we have not received any response. The Conservation Commission has not received any response. Now, the letters we have here. Is that letter in here?
So I try and put all the new stuff the other direction, so it's kind of clear, so you don't
Oh,
have to- right.
okay.
This was one of them.
Okay, we have a letter. This is
This is gonna be
with
so many
petitions.
Yeah, okay, this is probably the main letter, and that's the other
Okay.
Thanks.
This is a letter from Laura Fisk, who is in a butter at, I believe, referenced in here, on North Street. I forget, I think the address is listed in here. This is dated April 11th. Okay. This, number one is deed conveyance. The deed conveyed from New England Forestry to the town of Walpole, deed number with page, et cetera, clearly states premises are conveyed subject to the following restrictions. Deed specifically states no parking allowed. It was conveyed with the intent, and what the town is proposing is in violation of what is in the deed. This plan is putting residents in an unfair advantage because no parking does not mean temporary, short-term, or live. It means no parking. Deed is held open for conservation, passive recreation, and open space, and subject to provisions and protection of Article 97. According to the plan and comments from town assistant engineer, it's approximately 5 feet of fill needed from street level to support the pull-off. The foot trail was discussed as a 3-to-1 slope, requiring a 15-foot slant. Without having plans, dimensions, and foot trail information, one can estimate the fill needed as approximately 4.5 dump trucks or 90 cubic yards, plus or minus. What is Conservation Commission proposing for a structure that will hold the fill and support the pull-off, ensuring fill does not move and degrade other nearby areas and the river? Article 97 states parties should ensure no net loss of protected open space. This project requires moving stone walls and trees from the area as well as significant fill and grading. 930 North Street residents. Plan does not show existing home on 962 Mr. Small, which is, I believe the property is actually owned by New England Forestry, and my home at 930. That's 930 North Street. For the purpose of Conservation Commission, Planning Board, and other departments that are asked to comment, it is critical to accurately depict these homes on the plans for the reasons below. For 930 North Street, the plan reference, plan dated 1996, et cetera, depicts my home as being approximately 200 feet from the property line. My home is approximately 75 feet from the property line. The foot trail and pull-off is of significant concern due to its close proximity. Plan does not show connection from pull-off to foot trail to pond. During the meeting, there was significant discussions about path location and dimensions. Again, significant concern due to its close proximity to my home, especially if the path goes directly against my property line. What mitigation is planned to ensure that individuals do not trespass on private property? What is planned to protect my privacy and home considering its proximity to this project? At minimum, I am requesting privacy fence and trees on conservation land to mitigate trespassing and any effect this project will have on my property. What mitigation is planned to ensure the area is maintained as scenic, trash and other debris do not get left behind, and if so, who maintains and removes it? Planner notice of intent does not describe where the individuals will be walking from Adams Farm, crossing North Street. Individuals will cross North Street into the pull-off and end up walking on my private property. Other considerations for planning board, Walpole Fire, Police, and other town departments. Pull-off is 37 feet plus or minus long, while the intent is to provide a pull-off for cars to park, unload, and exit. It would be natural to misuse this area. This space can accommodate 2 to 3 parked cars. The path of least resistance is to park, unload, and walk to the pond, leaving the vehicle parked in the pull-off. What is planned to ensure this does not occur? Individuals need to travel via vehicle and on foot approximately 0.8 miles, 4,440 feet, round trip to utilize this pull-off properly. This is longer than the existing public access point off Brook Street, approximately 0.6 miles, 3,000 feet, one way from this site, and has direct access to the water. Based on September 14, 2022 conservation meeting, Adams Farm Committee suggested that only a trailhead and not a turnout be constructed. Based on a March 22, 2023 conservation meeting, residents firmly requested this be a trailhead-only access, allowing conservation mission of having access to the pond and utilizing open space. North Street is a scenic road, and this plan requires a rebuild of stone walls, tree removal, and filling of gravel under Chapter 452. This plan needs approval by the planning board. Does the amount of cubic fill require the planning board to place conditions on the project? Town of Walpole and Conservation should ask for comments from police, fire, and other departments to address congestion and safety issues. North Street, where the pull-off is shown, is extremely narrow, busy, and the road is used frequently to connect residences to abutting towns. Walpole Police should comment on public safety issues relating to traffic, individuals crossing from Adams Farm on North Street. How to pull off being used 24/7 may create additional safety concerns, and ones that may require police to monitor activity at this site and the pond frequently. Walpole Fire Department should comment on the fire hydrant located near this pull-off. Town maintenance should comment on plowing the area. Plowing from northbound, snow will pile up near the brook. From southbound, snow will pile up near the fire hydrant. And what about gravel from the pull-off being plowed out into North Street? Recognizing conservation's mission is to use open space for the public, this plan suggests public safety may be at risk. This definitely causes concerns for privacy for all abutters, and this is of significant concern for myself and my property due to its close proximity to this project. That is from Laura Fisk. Okay. We have, this is dated April 11th, petition opposing the turnout on North Street. It's addressed to the Selectmen, Planning Board, and Conservation Commission. We write to you today on the topic of recent plans to add trails and pull-off on the North Street to access conservation land abutting Willett Pond. Seek to share support for certain aspects of the plan and our request to revise other components of the plan. We write to you as residents of Walpole, users of North Street, recreational users of Willett Pond, and other impacted citizens of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. As background, we are excited to hear that the land in question has been acquired by the town of Walpole and will be protected for future generations for passive recreation. We believe this was a wise choice by the town of Walpole. With such little unblemished open space left in Walpole and much of it being North Walpole area, these types of investments add to the health of our environment, the well-being of our citizens, and property values in the surrounding area. We applaud your efforts. We believe this is unique and largely unspoiled piece of land should remain in its current natural state. We are supportive of the current plans, put a small, natural, low-impact hiking trail on the property to connect with Adams Farm. However, we believe this should be the limit of the changes to the property in question. Specifically, we're calling on Walpole Town leadership to adjust their current plans to not include the turnout or similar autoway on North Street for the following reasons. Environmental destruction. The increased car and human traffic will have an adverse impact on the environment and wildlife, including but not limited to potential disruption of nesting bald eagles on this specific area of Willett Pond. Property is covered in streams and ponds that feed Willett Pond and the Neponset River. Adding a man-made turnout and increasing auto traffic is at odds with protecting our wetlands and the Wetland Protection Act. This avoidable environmental destruction is contrary to the charter of the Conservation Commission. Beyond specifically prohibiting parking, the deed states that the premises will be used exclusive of passive, non-motorized use, clearly in conflict with the turnout, destroying our town history and scenic roadways. Building the turnout requires destruction of historical fences and stone walls and adds to the industrialization of a protected scenic North Street as designated by the people of Walpole. Significantly increases driving and pedestrian danger. This is one of the narrowest points of North Street and is sure to create congestion and add to the already unsafe driving conditions existing on this busy thoroughfare. Better options for Willett Pond access. Public access exists at the beach on Brook Street, including a wide and gradual beach only 25 feet from a safer road with an existing unloading area for canoes and kayaks, parking on Petty's Pond Lane, making this urban sprawl turnout completely unnecessary. North Street is a residential area and constant drop-offs, idling, loading, and unloading will undoubtedly have an adverse impact on the tax-paying citizens of Walpole. There's already ample parking and drop-off zones at Adams Farm, making this expensive, unsightly, and dangerous addition unnecessary. The cost to taxpayers is significant and of little benefit as outlined above. This group of citizens continues to applaud the town of Walpole and Conservation Commission for its foresight in acquiring a piece of land and plans to provide the public with responsible access. We believe that the small change noted above will provide the optimal balance between outdoor recreation, opportunities beneficial to the town and surrounding communities while maintaining a safe North Street, protecting Walpole's environment and cherished unblemished open spaces. And this petition, according to the list here, has signatures of 112 people from a number of towns outside of Walpole, including Walpole. So,
Mr. Chairman, if I may just add, this petition, although it is submitted by a group of residents, it is not a verified petition from the town clerk's office, and the signatures that are on this petition have not been verified as well.
right. Yeah, I just wanted to note there were the number of, and a number, without counting them up, are from outside of Walpole.
Correct, there's
So,
59, I believe,
yeah.
that were Walpole residents listed on the
Oh,
petition.
you counted them? How many?
59.
59 out of 112. Okay, thank you.
It's also unclear to me what information they were provided that they were signing.
Oh, okay.
There's that letter that Jack just wrote.
The whole.
That's this
the whole-
letter.
Just read.
Yeah,
The whole letter.
the whole letter.
So they didn't get any information specifically of the project, just the objections to it.
So,
No, it's
for the
cited,
purposes of,
we also cited-
you're not addressed, just be quiet, please.
In a minute.
For the purpose, one thing that has been addressed in these letters is, the planning board does have a scenic road hearing on April 20th, I believe. I don't
That's
know-
correct, yes.
I don't know what the time it is, but there is it is on their agenda for those who are interested. And it was brought up that question whether it would be before planning board. So that, yes, it will. And as a result, or considering the planning board's hearing, that we will continue this hearing tonight till after the planning board hearing, to see if there's anything that needs to be incorporated in whatever we do. So just so you're aware of that. So, anything you want to add at this point, Landis?
Well, can I address a couple of the
Yeah.
issues in the letters?
Go ahead.
Okay. So the Laura Fisk letter, thank you, I did ask for feedback at the last hearing. I received this Tuesday night at 5:30. Not a lot of time to address it. The petition opposing the turnout was submitted to the board secretary on Tuesday, I believe. She's only here Wednesday and Thursday, so we only saw it today. But what I do want to address a couple of the issues in the letters. The comment regarding Article 97, Lynn, the project is not in conflict with Article 97. There is no disposition of the property. There is only a turnout to access the property, and that is allowed. The deed restricted parking on the site, it does include no parking, and this discussion of a pullout was made with Neff prior to the commission purchasing the property. We described that we wanted to put a pull-off. So it was discussed with them, and they indicated it would be okay.
Would add at this point, with our discussions with Neff, the original deed did allow parking, and Conservation Commission requested that no parking be included with the deed. And that's the way the property was transferred.
And the pull-off was because of the public access easement, that also, in addition to allowing people to walk on the peninsula, it also allows people to launch from the outside of the peninsula, a kayak or a canoe. So Commission purchased the property to provide access to the pond, knowing that there's another access, two options. The question of how will the fill for the pull-off be contained. So we do realize that there needs to be revisions on the plan. There is a cross-section of the 3-to-1 slope, but the engineer department will put contours, so it's a little clearer about how the fill will be graded from the top of the top of the pull-off down to the existing grade. So we will include that information in a revised plan. The plan does not show the small 962 or the Fisk 930 residence on the plan. So this is a conservation-related plan, so the purpose of this plan is to show the resource area and how the resource area is going to be protected during this project. So it wasn't necessary to put the house's footprints on there. I realize that it's important to the homeowners, but it's not part of a requirement for under the Wetlands Protection Act or the local bylaw, because it doesn't really affect the resource area. So that's why it wasn't put on the plan. The plan does not show the path to the pond, the public access easement, concerned with proximity to the Fisk property. So there was discussions about how the path should go, and should we show them? I do have an aerial that I sort of outlined where the people would be walking down from Adams Farm, how they would cross the street and walk on the conservation property down to the pond. And I think all the discussions were always not on the property line of the Fisk property, but further down. And it would be minimum cutting to have the access, because you can already walk down. You don't really need to cut any trees or anything in regards to that.
Is this the point?
You want to use your mic, Landis, if you,
Please what?
we use your mic if you're gonna go up to there.
So this is where the pull-off is. The people would be walking down from Adams Farm along that green line there. And we would again do just minimum cutting so that people could walk along that path. And then this is the turnout. And then just minimum cutting to go through the trees for the path. And then along here, the blue line, down to where you step over what is conservation land onto land which is Neponset land holding land, where the access easement is the orange. We'd have to have a little boardwalk that goes over the stream and then walk out to the peninsula. Now, the whole peninsula is part of the access easement, but you could only launch a small non-motorized boat from the outside of the peninsula. So everything would be done with minimum cutting, disturbance of property. The turnout here, people have been referencing the scenic road, and so there are stones there, but there's really no constructed, there is really no constructed stone wall. There's just stones that at some point sat there. But the requirements for trees is if there's cutting 4 inches or greater. We're not cutting anything in that realm. We're not cutting anything 4 inches or greater. Everything would be small. So that's also part of the scenic road. We're not cutting any big trees. How people will get to the property from Adams Farm, I just explained that the path from Adams Farm does not require a filing with the Conservation Commission under the Wetlands Protection Act or local bylaw. The path down from Adams Farm and then the path on this property would be really minimum. There would be no grading, there would be no filling, it would just be some minor cutting to go from the turnout down to the pond. There was no plan to make a paved or any kind of path like that. Other concerns, trash pickup, trespassing. So one of the reasons for having this turnout, other than if people wanted to stop there and offload a canoe or a kayak, but also it makes it much more convenient for me as the conservation agent or Parks Department or DPW to pull off there, or fire and police to pull off there and walk down and monitor the site. So it also provides town departments a place to stop and walk down and make sure that the site is clean and all the concerns that the neighbors have. The privacy planting, well, the scenic road hearing, I think we already talked a lot about. I did send out an email to fire and police asking for comments. I haven't dealt with that yet. Haven't received anything yet. Plowing the area, I mean, we could just talk to DPW either that they don't do anything, or obviously we don't want them plowing any snow that goes into the wetlands or the stream either. So we'd have to address that. So or the Fisk property. Obviously, I think the commission and the town wants to be good neighbors as well. So we would have to address that. So those were sort of the main points that I saw that kind of related to tonight's permit in the Fisk letter. As far as the other letter, a lot of it is information that we already talked about. No historic fences, I'm not sure where that came from, there's no historic fences that will be affected by this project. It's only what used to be the stone wall that we're going to the scenic road hearing. And as far as the safety issues, I agree, it's already now a problem. So I think we've talked about putting signage up for passage of pedestrians or something so that people know that there is an area where people cross the road. So that's, you know, we hear you and everyone has talked about it. And I'd like to hear from the fire and police to see what they have, if they have any suggestions as well. And if putting a pull-off will actually make it safer rather than more dangerous. And the options for Willett Pond access, the public accesses have been in place. They weren't put there by the Conservation Commission. They've been there for a while. The reason the Conservation Commission wanted to purchase this property was because there was a public access easement. So the public access easement came first, and then the Conservation purchased the property, thinking that it was a great opportunity for more people to enjoy the pond, because it was already decided that the public should enjoy the pond. I think that's it.
Can you explain further why that decision was made?
What was, Betsy?
Can you?
The public access easement? So I don't want to give any wrong information, but my understanding was it was because of the issue with the dam, and that the dam would require public funds to fix the dam, and in order for the state to get involved with fixing the dam, that there needed to be public access to the pond, because it's public money.
All right, commission, anybody on the commission have any comments or questions? And then we'll open up to the audience. Dean, anything at this point?
No.
Taylor?
No.
Doug?
Yes, I do. I actually in agreement with a lot of the points brought up in the letter, and some that I want to focus in on from an environmental standpoint. The littering problem. I have been policing the shores of that pond for the last 5 years in my canoe and kayak. I've made 35 trips around the perimeter of the pond, and I do a statistical analysis of the litter that's happening there. And I can go into details that aren't very relevant. but
We don't need all that.
I won't go into the non-relevant ones, but the relevant details are, of the 763 beverage containers I've pulled out from my kayak, just right at the water's edge, in other words. 98% of them were along where there's public access, the road at the causeway. It appears to me that people are just driving by and chucking their empty containers out the window, and that 98% of the 763 beverage containers I picked up were right along the public access roads. I'm worried that having a pull-off will just give another spot for people to rid themselves of the litter. If we were to do something like this, have that pull-off, we'd need to have trash receptacles perhaps there.
I think I might add at this point, the discussion so far has been carry in, carry out.
Yeah, well, somehow that needs to be enforced, signage perhaps.
But if you put trash barrels, then you wind up with trash.
Yeah.
So, and that would be something that could be done later, but initially, I would say I'm in favor of carry in, carry out. We have trash barrels at Adams Farm, at the barn, and DPW does empty those on a regular basis. it does not prevent trash from being deposited elsewhere. So I, at this point, would say.
But I just wanted to bring up that
Hear what you're saying. Go
most of the
ahead.
trash I see is
Yeah, I
not
know.
where people walk, but where people drive.
Yeah.
Right, and I can attest that this is, if you go there and you go down the bank, there are beer cans. So it's, people, because it's a wooded area,
Yeah.
people chuck.
So I walked there last week. There were 30 beer cans.
Yep,
I counted them.
right.
There were two,
So it happens already.
out on the peninsula, there were two stuffed chairs that are all ripped apart. And they were clustered near, there's other litter there as well. There's a fire pit. And that's a considerable distance from the road. So if somebody had a fire in this weather right now where it's high risk with the dryness and everything, I have a hard time visualizing the fire department getting out there to where that fire pit is to save the wooded area along the wetlands there. So,
You got the same issue today, because the fire pit's there and people are accessing from the beach, so. Go ahead, anything else?
just somehow we need to make sure that that's protected against, a fire could be pretty devastating.
Yeah, granted, but it's.
Maybe
It is no
signage not
different
allowing.
than it is today.
Maybe there should be signage not allowing fires.
There will be signage of various kinds regarding parking, regarding access, regarding take your trash out. And I think, generally speaking, we can all agree that you can put up all kinds of signs and you can put trash barrels, people are still gonna dump their trash wherever they happen to be, so.
And
Anyhow.
another thing, this pull-off is 25 feet from the stream. Just on the other side of North Street, there's a pull-off that's 100 feet away. That's where I stopped the other day to, it's going in the other direction, the other side of the street. It was 100 feet away from the stream. And it's already in existence. So why not utilize that instead of building a new one that's within 25 feet of the
I
stream?
don't think we have the right-of-way there on North Street. It's a 50-foot right-of-way. And that provides access to the field that is owned by Neff and is hayed by a separate entity. It's used presently, and it wouldn't, but anyhow.
But I
It's-
noticed it
I
was
hear you.
100 feet away from the stream,
Yeah.
not 25 feet away.
Okay, anything else?
I guess I'll let somebody else speak.
Media, anything?
That path that you showed on the aerial, was that a path already kind of roughly established there, or was that just?
Yes.
Oh, it's already
Yeah,
kind of
yeah,
there?
so that's kind of where every time I've gone to the site where we walked, and it is walkable.
It's walkable now?
Yeah,
Okay, so that would roughly follow
Yeah.
that? Okay.
yeah, you can go under the trees and then along the field.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you.
Anything else? Betsy?
The trash situation along the roadsides is horrible. Anyone knows who's ever done a trash pickup. I'll bet the entire length of North Street is nothing but little bottles and cans, every single, and McDonald's cups and all that. I guess I'm not seeing this turnoff being anything special to the sort of person who chucks things from the car. And that's why, unfortunately, that causeway is that way. They're not stopping there. They're chucking it from their car. So I guess I'm seeing it as a horrible problem. I guess I'm not seeing that it's related precisely to this one thing. If anything, it might give a little more access for Boy Scouts or Girl Scouts to go in and do a little cleanup or something. I mean, it might actually, walking trails bring a different sort of person than the sort of person that speeds along with little bottles.
But people that are canoeing might want to take a lot of beverages with them, and then they just trash it there.
I see no difference. What about now with the beach down there? What difference is that?
Is the beach full of trash?
The
The
beach
access?
has some trash that,
So people canoe there, throw trash there as well?
apparently, I haven't,
Okay.
No, I think you're gonna find that, you're gonna find trash. Wherever you have people, you're gonna find some trash.
So last year on Earth Day, I initiated Neponset River Association to clean up along that dike area. And a dozen people showed up, and we probably collectively filled 24 bags of trash along there. It was really
Just the
awful.
causeway?
But that's driving, not hiking trails. It's,
But it's close to vehicles. They're coming from the vehicles, not just
Right.
from people canoeing or kayaking.
Right, so along the road, people are throwing
Yes,
while they're
yeah.
driving, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I suspect perhaps kids that don't want to take empties home and let their parents see them, they're trying to get rid of these, because it's mostly alcohol product.
They don't care about the nickels. Okay, anything else, Betsy?
Nope.
You want anything else? Al, any
No,
comments?
nothing.
Okay. Anyone in the audience, if you'd like to address anything that, just ask it that be something new, if you, so please identify yourself for the record.
Just come up to
the
the microphone
microphone.
if you would. Thank you.
Name, address.
Yeah, my name is F. Burgess Small. I live at 962 North Street. I've been there since 1976.
Wow.
Mr. Warren, you know, who bought that property back in 1938, was my godfather. And his wife was my mother's best friend. They grew up in Savannah, Georgia together in the 1920s. I can't say that I knew Mr. Warren. First time I saw him was at my christening 75 years ago, and the second time I saw him was at my father's funeral 23 years later. But I knew her well. And I came up here in 1976 when I was out in the Navy and looking for a job, and because I knew Jess well, being my mother's best friend, I became fascinated with what this one guy did with his 27 acres of land that he bought in 1938 for $19,000, with the proviso that he had to cough up another $500 to buy an additional 100 acres, which is probably now Buckboard Drive, and some of which is under your control, because he donated quite a bit of land to the Conservation Commission. He was actually, if you look in the records, he was vice chairman of the Conservation Commission back in the day. He was a very active member of this community. He was president of the Cooperative Bank. He was on the Insurance Commission. He was president of the Rotary Club. He devoted himself to this town. And this July will mark 50 years since he passed away. After going to a town meeting, coming home, getting prepared for a long weekend down at his summer place, and he never woke up and was found in bed the next morning. And his obituary was on the front page of the paper. He was a major figure in this town, a real civil servant. I didn't have the good fortune to know him. I've gotten to know him over the past 45 years by working on that land. If you'd gone by today, you would have seen me ripping up bittersweet vines, from the edge of the pasture.
Do you have,
And my point is, I won't get into any more history, but Mrs. Warren and I purchased that land from the Bremar sisters in 1996 in order to preserve it as it is. And we trusted the New England Forestry to do just that they would take it and keep it just as it is. And instead, they sold it to the town. We were not aware that they had the ability or the right to do that. And I have to speak for her, say that she would be incredibly disappointed that we're at this state of affairs. But it is what it is. And so I have to speak for her now, because she's been passed away for 10 years. Their whole purpose, since they didn't have children, was to leave this land in its natural state. And originally, they planned to do it with the Audubon Society, who reneged on the deal, and then we got involved with the Forestry Foundation. And as you know, they own the house that I am allowed to live in and the 25 acres around it. And I was shocked to find out that they could actually sell off pieces of it like this. But anyway, the point is, she would be upset that, that this is inconveniencing my neighbor, because she was a good neighbor when the Braemeyers were alive, and and when Laura was alive, and Laura knew her too. And speaking for her and for myself, even though you can call that a pull-off and put a no parking sign there, all of us have been to enough stores and seen cars in handicapped space lots to know that that sign will not be paid attention to, and cars will park in that spot. And then what do you do? You know, are we going to call police to come down and ticket them every time that happens? I don't think so. You mentioned the trash issue out on the peninsula. You know, I don't go out there very often. It's hard to get out there now, and legally I don't have any access to that because it's not forestry land. But I understand there's a chair out there, so that's another obvious issue. I think, from my standpoint, the appropriate thing to do is there should be a trail. There should be a walking trail. There should be access. I'm not anti-Conservation Commission. As I say, Mr. Warren donated a sizable amount of his land to the Conservation Commission. He was a big supporter of it. But I think this is an unnecessary inconvenience to my neighbor. I don't think it's necessary. I think there should be. When I was out there working today, I looked over and I noticed that when you turn into Adams Farm, there's 10 sections of white fence there before it gets to where it's a wire fence, and that's in a little bit of disrepair. And I stepped it off. It's you could pull in there, pull off, without driving all the way up to the top of the barn. You could unload your kayak or whatever there, walk straight across their pasture. Behind the pumping station, there's already a gap in the wall. You could go right behind the pumping station across the field that the Forestry Commission has given access to. And I've talked to the head forester up in Maine, and he said we encourage public access on our land, and I have no problem with that. That would be a direct route, keep people off the street. They could go straight across that field, the field across from my house. And I noticed, as a matter of fact, maybe you can comment on this, I noticed when I was out working there today, there's an orange capped stake in the ground there that I assume some surveyor or something put there, and I'm assuming that's, maybe you can enlighten me, is that a marker for, what this intended path is from Adams Farm down to the street?
Not that I'm aware of, I don't know where that came from.
Okay, I mean, it's right at the corner of the field, and it's not a little tag, that indicates wetland. It's a stake driven into the ground, painted orange, and I'm wondering what the significance of that is.
You're talking about
I'm talking about the field right across the street from my house.
So the property, the conservation property?
No, the Adams Farm property. I mean, no, it's Neff property. It's the field, it's not yours yet. It's not yours, unless you bought the field, and I'm not aware of it.
The field next to.
The field right across from my house.
The field that is behind the pump station.
Right, the field that the pumping station is on. It's at the opposite corner of the, so.
Any markers that would be on the property that the Conservation Commission purchased from Neff, we had Norfolk County Engineering go out and survey the property.
I noticed surveyors out there about a week or so ago. I didn't go out and ask them what they were doing, but I noticed them going across the field, and I assumed it had something to do with, this project, so, but I don't know what that stake means. I'd be happy to show it to anybody who wants to check it out.
Anything to do with this project.
So, but anyway, my alternative plan would be to walk across the fields, then you come right out in that 20-foot wide lane that goes from the street up to, actually where the Warren's ashes are buried. You notice there's a sign there that says Winslow Warren Memorial Forest, and you could come right out there, and then it's a pretty short hop across the street to where I think there should be a trail, through as close to the brook and as far away from Laura's house as possible, till you get to that back field, which is yours, and then you've got wide open walk down to there. And to me, that's a better plan. I just severely question the fact that we can call that a pullout, but we know what's going to happen. We know people are going to park on that thing, and that deed says no parking. And I would challenge the
We
fact.
intend to put appropriate signage, and like anything else, it would be up to, if it's their someone's there illegally, then they would expect the police department would act accordingly, whether they tow it or they wind up issuing tickets or whatever.
Yeah.
But that would be the Conservation's request that it be handled through the police department and that it be enforced.
I have a question about New England Forestry, and that's run by foresters. Those are all pretty active things. It's not New England passive forestry.
No.
So when you donate land to New England Forestry, it can be deforested in their own particular methodology that leaves small trees or big trees or whatever. I would say it might actually be safer with Conservation Commission, because we tend not to do that really active management that is sort of the euphemism for cutting down a lot of trees.
Well, I would have, you know.
It's interesting that the land was donated to New England Forestry. That was an interesting decision.
Well, like I said, the Warrens' whole purpose was to leave the land just
I would
as
say
they
New England
found it.
Forestry probably is not known for leaving land exactly
Well,
as is.
let me put this in a little bit of context. Obviously, this is incredibly small potatoes for New England Forestry. They own huge tracts of land in Maine, you know, thousands and thousands of acres. They manage forests. And for the life of me, I was thinking, why are they even bothering with us? Well, the reason they got involved with us was because they thought that at the time they were in Boston, they were hoping to use the house as their headquarters after Mrs. Warren passed away. And that's why they made the agreement, but she did the inconvenient thing of living to 103, and they just couldn't wait any longer for her, so they wound up getting a house in Littleton, where they had their headquarters now. So they were essentially stuck with this agreement that they had with her. I'm sure they would be loved to be, they can't wait for me to, you know, shuffle off, and they can be done with me and sell a house and be out with, done with the whole thing, because, you know, in 40 years, they've only once done any cutting up in those woods. And they took out some pines. And I believe if there was a time when they were actually going to work with you people and doing some cutting up and, you know, beyond that, in Adams Farm a few years
There
ago.
was some issues and that had to do with getting access from Eversource when they needed access.
Right.
And that was several years ago.
Right.
But they do own several
Yeah.
parcels that make up the whole of Adams Farm that are interspersed with town-owned property, including the field abutting that, which is, with New England Forestry, the town had an agreement that basically the town had access to their property for trails. So that, you know, make that, what is Adams Farm, one huge parcel that's available to the public for access. And I think, oh, go ahead. Do you
Yeah.
have anything else you
Well,
want to add?
that's essentially the gist of my argument. I just,
Okay.
I question whether or not this,
Yeah.
the deed is actually being followed exactly to the letter of the law. And, and I think a trail would be a better option.
Whether it's a trail or a pull-off, there still needs to be some activity there to create a trail, because the ground below the road is about 4 feet
No question.
lower, so that's, you still need to
No
do
question,
something.
they'll have, no,
Yeah.
I wouldn't
So
question,
whether-
there has to be some
no matter
modification.
What you do,
But a parking
there has to be
space, I think, would be
something
bad. Yep, you know,
it will not
I'd like to
be,
comment on that as well. I appreciate what you're saying regarding that location, and I think this pull-off, rather, that is being proposed is something that's gonna be fairly benign. And I would argue that if someone's gonna take a kayak or a canoe, they're not gonna park at Adams Farm and walk it all the way there. And it would be more dangerous, because people, what they're gonna do is stop in the middle of the road, take off their kayak off there, or canoe, and block traffic. So this is safer than someone stopping in the middle of the road to do that, or to let off people who are disabled or can't walk long distances. They're gonna stop in the middle of the road unless we have some sort of pull-off. So that, in my argument, this proposal is safer than that. So that's my argument with that. This is fairly benign, and I don't see a lot of people, quite frankly, bringing canoes and kayaks down there. You're not gonna see a lot of parking, and if you do, call the police. Like any other violation, I call the police. If I see something suspicious in my neighborhood, I call the police. So, and I appreciate your argument, but this is, and our goal is to keep this property as intact as possible, and to allow, as Jack said, to allow access to the public. So that's kind of our goal, and that's what we're trying to accomplish, and I hope you can understand that.
Yeah, I do. The disappointment for me is that, to me, I feel betrayed by the forestry for their selling the land to you. We anticipated that they would leave it just as is, because their mission is to maintain humongous forests, and not,
I question the word maintain. It's New England Forestry.
They
I
do.
would donate to a land trust, and then they'll maintain it.
Yeah.
They are I've had some involvement with them, and they are they're tuned into progressive forestry is to do it in a way that is sustainable. And no matter what you do, then you can see that with it, when they've had some harvesting in town forest, it looks like a mess for a while. But how else are you going to get your product out if you don't? So New England Forestry, in my opinion, is a good steward of their properties.
I couldn't agree with you more on that one, because they did come in 1978, and one morning they went up into the woods and with skidders and everything else, and they marked and took out about 7 or 8 trees, and shocking how quickly and how efficiently they did it. And it looked like a German tank division had gone through there for about a year, but, then you couldn't tell the difference, and the forest was better.
The Conservation Commission is not gonna send skidders
I know, I
one
understand.
day to surprise everyone by removing a bunch of big trees.
I understand.
So it
I
actually
understand.
might be safer
So, but
than with New England Forestry.
Okay, do we have anything else?
No, I would just add to the discussion that the plan for the turnoff is approximately 13 feet, with then the grading down, which is probably like a foot, 1 to 3. And not quite half, a little less than half, is within the town right away. It's not even on the property, so it's within the town right away. So just to keep that in mind. It's in the town right away. It's in the road
Right.
right away,
Yeah.
not on the property.
Yeah.
We're just going, a little more than half onto the property. There's not a lot of development for this project on the property. I just want to stress that.
I understand.
I just want to stress this. This is not an urban sprawl.
I understand that, and it
Not
probably.
an urban sprawl. This is a very minor project for safety as well, for drop-off of people, for me to pull in and monitor the site, which is also a concern for the town departments to come and pick up any trash that's on the site. It's to access a site that's
Yeah.
going to be a town site. So I think if there's any other speakers, Chairman, you should give them a chance.
Yeah. Anyone else have any comments to make? Okay, as I said earlier, since we have the scenic road hearing with the planning department on the 20th, that we'll continue this till the 26th. What do we have on? We have 7:20, we want to make this at 7, what's that going to be, 400 Main Street? It can be, make it 7:30.
400 means it's 7.
Oh, it's a difference, yeah, 5 minutes, because it'll be late anyhow. Okay, someone want to make a motion to continue this until 7:25 on April 26th?
Move. Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstained. So it'll be continued until, whatever, it said, April 26th at 7:25. Thank you all. Okay.
Good night.
So how long have the couches been sitting around the council?
What would you put in there?
Right now, they're easy chairs. There was a couch there that went back about 5 years ago. That's gone, but there's these stuffed easy chairs. They're all torn apart by the squirrels. It's just, it looks like a junkyard.
So the neighbors must have some hypothesis as to who's bringing them over on the ice. It's probably during ice season, right?
Don't know, I don't know how they got there, but,
Stick it on
Sounds like
stick it
kids.
on a canoe and take it over.
Didn't work, Dean.
Someone voted an easy chair on a canoe, maybe.
Should have seen the
But I
stuff
don't
they
know if you wanna
had,
Close out the Walpole Media guy.
what have we got left?
What have we got
are you
left?
still interested in
It's on
on Earth Day?
Yeah, I don't know where to go, so you'll just have to tell me.
I just had some comments regarding the appeals that are on the agenda.
All right, let's finish up.
And I don't know if Dean has any master plan.
I wasn't able to go to the meeting last week.
You are fired.
We did the monkey poll, and I was like, can't do Tuesday. They're like, all right, great.
You are fired.
Tuesday it is. So I have to review it,
Enforcement order and stuff.
but it's happening.
What else do we have on the agenda?
Nothing, all right.
We all,
So just comments on the appeals, so there's nothing on the Wall Street Development Pinnacle Mill Complex, Warwick Road Notice of Intent Appeal, ORAD docket issued to schedule pre-hearing discussions, no date yet, they threw out a couple of dates. In the meantime, Wall Street Development resubmitted the Warwick Road Notice of Intent with the letters requesting to work in the town's right-of-way, to the Board of Selectmen, and the town engineer's street opening permit. The adjudicatory hearing is still continuing, so if the commission opens that hearing and issues a order of conditions, then the applicant has to decide which one he wants to go with. He can't have two order of conditions on the same project, so just to update you on that. Then Wall Street, and I'm just bringing these two notice of intents that were filed because they pertain to the appeals. Wall Street Development also submitted a notice of intent for a single-family dwelling on 15 Pinnacle Drive on the plan for the development there and the RDA. He indicated that that was going to be part of the back lot. Now he's submitting a notice of intent for a single-family house. So I quickly reviewed that application, and there's a lot going on there. I may request peer review of that lot because of the multitudes of issues having to do, because they've kind of cited everything being the historic mill complex. It's,
But it hasn't been resolved.
right,
How could they submit an NOI?
Yeah.
Why would you review it?
Makes no sense.
they can submit a notice of intent. So they've listed pretty much everything, so I have to review it again and see if we need to file. So the issue of if it's a river or just a pond has been settled. It's a
has been.
river, it has a riverine area.
Yep.
So the riverfront protection section of the Wetlands Protection Act does get applied, so.
Are they circumnavigating that with the historic mill
Well,
complex?
what I'm saying, they've kind of thrown everything out there. Redevelopment, historic mill complex, is it a river, is not a river, they've kind of listed everything. So I just want to review it again, and if it seems like it needs someone who specializes in the Rivers Protection Act, then I would suggest getting a peer review.
Yeah.
Just putting that out there.
Okay, but I think I'm puzzled as to why, if the historic mill issue is still in litigation, that you're not revisiting that part of it, I hope.
I am just notifying the commission
Yeah.
that the applicant, Wall Street Development, has submitted an application for 15 Pinnacle Drive, which is associated with an appeal. That's what I want to bring up to the commission. Not making any decisions or anything like that, just letting you guys know.
But even you having to review it, I mean, that takes your
We
time.
accept it. If it's submitted, we have to accept it.
But
schedule a hearing.
But I hope at least some of these things you
We
can
just
go
deny it.
check, we've been discussing that, check, I mean, and not like
I'll
revisit
thoroughly
it.
review the
I don't
application
even wanna look at it.
before the hearing, yes.
give us time to
No, I don't want to
discuss it
fill
at the
in
next
any more
hearing.
discussion because the applicant is not here. I'm just
Okay.
notifying the commission that it came in and that it is associated with an appeal.
Thank you.
As well as Warwick Road.
Thank you.
I don't
It'll
think it's really
be-
fair to or
It'll
appropriate
be
to discuss
interesting to
further.
see what the, what the filing includes.
I think we're on a year
So we'll have time to discuss it at our next meeting.
Okay.
And then, so those are the appeal issues. And board comments, there is a subdivision called Bruins Court, which has been submitted to the planning board for 965 West Street. And that is the Freiberg property that the commission already permitted his landscape crossing driveway and building. And then he's subdividing the rest of the property, so his home, his business, and then there'll be a third lot. He has to show the planning board that he can construct a road and a cul-de-sac. So if he does all that, he will have to come before the commission for a
he's got a ton
filing.
of
If you
wetlands
guys
there.
want to look at the plan, I have it. My recommendation would just be to include a comment that he has to come before the
We'll have
conservation
to
commission.
require a filing. Yeah.
The other is the clock tower, which we reviewed tonight, which is also under the planning board, as Dan Merrickin suggested. So usually what we do is we just notify the planning board of any decisions that the commission has issued, we'll send them the order of conditions that you guys approved tonight.
Great.
Anything else? Okay, anybody else have anybody?
No, thank you.
Okay. Does anybody want to adjourn?
Yeah.
Are we ready?
Move to adjourn?
Second.
Second. All in
Okay, in
favor?
favor? Good, thank you.